Good morning, folks. So today we got a couple of things to talk about. One relative to yesterday's game, once again, something I didn't touch on yesterday. And the other relative to Scott Agness, who, as you know, went off on Caitlin Clark's, what he says are just the social media fans, okay? Who he calls the dark side. Now, who is Scott Agness? Okay, Scott Agness, so everyone understands, does not work for the Indiana Fever. He is not paid by the Indiana Fever. He used to work in the Pacers organization, I believe around 2012. But he is an independent writer on Substack. I am also on Substack for my political stuff. Okay, not for my sports stuff. So I know Substack well. Scott Agness is charging just a little bit over $6 a month for people to subscribe to his Fieldhouse Files writings. And that's, he's independent. People say he's echoing Fever management. You know what? You can't make that assessment. You really can't, okay? Because he's not associated with the Fever management team. All right. He is basically cashing in on the media frenzy surrounding the WNBA and Caitlin Clark. So I decided to go on Substack on Scott Agness's page, which I don't subscribe to. And instead of posting, I messaged him and I thought, okay, this guy's not going to come back and talk to me because I don't subscribe. Well, he did come back and talk to me. So I'm going to show you my conversation with Scott Agness on Substack. So just hang on a minute. Okay, so of course I wasn't really nice when I started out. This is me here. You're a hack, Scott. I wouldn't pay you a dime. By the way, I'm a Clark fan and a Fever fan. You can be both, actually. But that doesn't mean I have to agree with everything the coaching staff does. I don't. So give me a break. Once again, another independent writer building a brand. Enjoy yourself. You're getting torched out here with good reason. So he writes back to me. Hi, Deb. Then you're not who I was referencing. You're the supportive kind who follows and enjoys the team. The entire story was positive and about this group coming together and overcoming so much. That's the story. Have a good weekend. Then I wrote back one more thing. I kind of went off here. One more thing. I think the team has done great, but I think they're better with Clark, period. I was a Larry Bird fan, but the Celts weren't afraid to embrace Bird as their centerpiece, like the Fever seems to be afraid to embrace Clark. Yes, the Celts could win without Bird, but to a man, they believed they needed Bird to be great. And as a matter of fact, the most stand-up teammate Clark has is Sophie Cunningham. Clark gets beaten up on the court, and everyone just stands around and watches. Half the time, they don't even make a move. Half the time, they don't even bend over to help her up. Nobody is asking them to get into fistfights over it. But Cunningham is the only person with the courage to say it out loud. And don't say Clark's not being targeted. That's gaslighting. None of this petty envy happens in the men's game, not to this degree. And the refs are pathetic. They allow this to happen by swallowing the whistle and losing control of the game. The WNBA brass is asleep at the switch. The Clark fans have a right to have their voice and their talk. They are spending money. I am. I paid mightily to see her play in Boston on July 15th. I am paying $100 a month so I can watch the Fever because the WNBA League Pass didn't air enough Fever games. Clark's fans are not here to spend money with the caveat of keeping their mouths shut. It doesn't work that way. Fans can boo players if they want. Fans can criticize coaches and management if they want. Do you seriously think that there aren't Caitlin Clark fans in the seats every game at Gamebridge when she's not even playing? You only had 4,000 butts in the seats before she came to Indiana. Now you have a waiting list for season tickets. Do you all understand why that is? It's not Kelsey Mitchell or Natasha Howard or Stephanie White. Lay off the fans. Dumping on the fans is like biting the hand that feeds all of you. You have a nice day. Go Fever. Then he comes back. Agree. They have plenty of room for growth and will take another step when she does return in a few weeks, which means she's coming back around the middle of August. No doubt, anyone saying otherwise is ridiculous, and yet physicality and officiating have been poor. And I was explaining what they hear and go through. Again, majority of fans are amazing. Just look at how much they travel and support. It's the online negativity I referenced, which is why some have gotten off social media. So this was me this morning because I wasn't done. I haven't heard back from them, obviously, but I'm sure I will. Some may have gotten off social media, but not all. Aaliyah Boston is now on a podcast with Candace Parker. Sophie Cunningham is now on a podcast with a friend from high school, which is funded by Colin Coward. Angel Reese wouldn't know what to do without social media, so she can spill the tea. I think that's the name of her podcast. Sue Bird and Megan Rapinoe have a podcast, and plenty of them have social media accounts. Caitlin Clark pretty much stays off of social media. She doesn't have time for it, and she doesn't think it's the real world. I've seen her interviewed on the subject. She will be a guest on Sue Bird's show. But that's the extent of her participation. She doesn't talk smack about other players on social media. In fact, if you spend time looking around, and I do, there is much more negativity directed towards and flat out lies told about Caitlin Clark on social media than anyone else in the WNBA. For example, on TikTok, they make up fake AI videos mimicking her voice saying things she's never said. Right-wing racists and bigots like Ben Shapiro co-opt the drama surrounding her on social media and use her to advance their crap. It's incredible the bull this girl takes both on and off the court. Perhaps we should talk about where the real dark side is when it comes to social media. It's not her fans. In fact, I'm going to take that on myself. And I am. I am going to take that on. I'm going to do a review of social media where Caitlin Clark is concerned, okay? Because she does take a lot of crap on social media, and those aren't her fans talking, okay? There is a whole cadre of right-wing activists who use her whiteness, the fact that she's not gay, and the fact that she went to Catholic school as a way to make points against other groups of people, like the LGBTQ community and people of color. And you know what? That's not okay. I can tell you that. That is using Caitlin Clark in a very disingenuous way. She does not feel that way about other people. Caitlin Clark is an accepting person. And there are people I'm going to tell you all who are out there that you need to watch out for when you tune in to other podcasts. And I'm not doing this because I have a competitive podcast. I don't consider myself a competitor to any of those people. But the people out there who use the term woke when they're discussing basketball, stay away from those people, okay? They have an agenda that does not involve just basketball, all right? Black and white sports is one of them. And I watch black and white sports, but I watch it with a very critical eye, and I very rarely reference them in anything I repost, okay? I just need to be aware of what that guy's doing, okay? There are other players out there, other gamesmen out there. You know, guys like Ben Shapiro, who I mentioned, to Scott Agnes, don't give a damn about women's sports. He's a right-wing pundit. He's a right-wing talking head. He's only out there taking advantage of Caitlin Clark to advance his right-wing agenda. Ben Shapiro's the guy who lit Barbie dolls on fire when the movie came out, okay? This guy is not a friend to women's sports, and he's not a friend to Caitlin Clark. Patrick Bet-David, he's another right-winger, okay? When Caitlin Clark said at the beginning of the season that she acknowledges her white privilege, but she has earned everything she's gotten, he came right out right after that and said she displayed weakness. You know what? This is all the stuff that she's subject to on social media. And I maintain that the dark side on social media is far greater against her than any of her fans are against the WNBA. And I'm going to set out to prove that. So that's basically where I am with that conversation. Now, and I'm going to tell you something else before I get off that conversation. I almost forgot this, but there are literally a plethora of Caitlin Clark groups on Facebook and other social media places, and they are pretty much respectable. I mean, there are true Caitlin Clark and Fever fans out there. There's got to be at least, I would say, 100 groups on Facebook dedicated to Caitlin Clark and the Fever. Okay, and that's just one social media site. And they are real fans. But some of the infiltrators, the men, some of their comments are totally in the misogynist zone. Okay, it's incredible. And you just have to know that she's not just a target on the basketball court. She's a target in the social media world as well, for good and for a lot of bad. All right, now let's move on to yesterday's game, because I talked about yesterday's game. I gave the stats for the people who played. I did all of that, okay? And again, I'm going to say this. I don't understand Stephanie White's coaching style. I don't understand Stephanie White's coaching logic. And I remain unconvinced that she's a great coach. I feel like the team is winning in spite of some of these decisions. But there are some things going on out there on the court that we need to talk about. I can't tell you, I don't have any video. I didn't bother to clip any video for this because I'm just going to tell you this. I can't tell you how many times Sophie Cunningham was wide open, waving her hand in the air for the ball, right? And she was ignored by both Kelsey Mitchell and Ari McDonald, who then proceeded to either throw up bricks or throw the ball away. I don't know what's going on here, but it happens with Caitlin Clark too. But it's not just Caitlin Clark that's feeling the effects of this. Lexi Hull is feeling the effects of this as well. All right. At one point in one game this year, and I forget which game it was, Caitlin Clark was so disgusted with the fact that I believe it was Natasha Howard who wouldn't throw the ball back to her that she basically waved her off and stopped in the middle of a play and tied her shoe. She made her point. She might as well stop and get that done because no one's going to give the ball back to me. Now, I know there have been discussions about this. Okay? If we want to truly talk about being unselfish so that we can win a championship, it's got to start with Kelsey Mitchell and Ari McDonald. When your shooter is wide open and is calling for the ball, you get the ball to them. Caitlin Clark knows how to do that. Okay, she doesn't need to take every shot in the game. And she has said openly that she takes just as much pride in getting the ball to her teammates as she does hitting a shot. That's what a basketball player does. There is something going on here that, honestly, Coach Parseltongue needs to correct. Because right then and there, when she saw that stuff going on, she should have blown a whistle for a timeout and called her team over and talked to them. That's how you do it. Okay? That's how you do it. Now, a lot of people want to paint that as the black girls won't throw the ball to the white girls. I'm not going there. I'm not going there yet. I'm not going there yet. But I will say this again, and I have said this. I like Kelsey Mitchell as a basketball player. Kelsey Mitchell, I'm sorry, the offense should not run through Kelsey Mitchell under any circumstance at any time. She runs hot and cold. She's not a passer, and she likes to take the shots. Okay, whether they're going in or whether they're not. And I get it that shooters have to shoot to break out. I get that. I get that. But by the same token, that same grace should be given to Caitlin Clark as well when she's not hitting all the time. And that has only been recent, and I will say it again. It has been because of her injuries and the fact that she can't string together more than 5 games consistently. Once she comes back, that will change. Okay? Once she comes back, that will change. And for all of the people out there who are in the, please come out of the conspiracy mode. Okay? Please come out of the conspiracy mode. I mean, Coach Parseltongue is a lot of things, but she is not actively plotting to keep Caitlin Clark off the court. Caitlin Clark, we all said at the very beginning, should have taken a month to get well. Now she's doing that, and now the conspiracy theorists are coming out of the woodwork talking about Caitlin Clark being actively kept away from the team. That's not what's happening. It has been discussed that for her to be able to participate in the second half of the season and help the team in the playoffs, and God knows, I'm looking at them, they need Caitlin Clark on the floor no matter how they're winning. They need Caitlin Clark on the floor. There are still times when they look clueless. Okay? They don't have a floor general. Ari McDonald's not a floor general. Kelsey Mitchell's not a floor general. Sydney Colson's barely getting any time. You know, and you know, they put in Damiris Stantis yesterday for 10 minutes. And she's not a floor general. There's one floor general on the team, and it's Caitlin Clark. And her backup is supposedly Sydney Colson. Now, again, another player who should not be on the floor taking the ball up is Natasha Howard. She's a forward. She is not a guard. There is an art to being a guard. All right? So don't take the ball up the floor, and please, Natasha, don't launch threes, okay? Get yourself to the basket and take the passes from somebody who can pass. So these are things that, you know, you can get by with them going on during the regular season. But as you progress further and further to the playoffs, these kinds of activities, this lack of unselfishness, will come back and bite you right in the butt during the playoffs, because everybody who makes it into the playoffs is going to be trying to play at their best. And the only way teams win championships is with a team. I keep hearing people say, you know, this one's going to carry the team to a championship. It doesn't work that way. There's a catalyst, yes. There is a floor general, yes. There is someone who is directing the show, yes. But you win as a team and you lose as a team. No one loses the playoffs as an individual. You lose it as a team. You pass that ball when your player is wide open for a shot. You do not continue to dribble around and dribble it away. You don't continue to launch bricks while you're being guarded. That is not what I call effective basketball. And I'll say it again, Stephanie White should have blown the whistle, called them over, and given them the religion. That's the way it has to be. None of this making excuses. Simply put, if you can get an assist out of Kelsey Mitchell, it's a bonus. And we can pretty much put to bed the theory that Caitlin Clark can't win on her own. She can't win without Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston, because you know what? If Kelsey Mitchell could win by herself, she wouldn't have spent 8 years with a team where in a couple of years they won only 5 games. Nobody wins by themselves. That's the fallacy of her family statement or her twin sister statement. Nobody wins by themselves. Basketball, by definition, is a team game. It's not skiing. It's not weightlifting. It's not an individual sport. It's based on team play. And when you see players unwilling to pass the ball, that should be a red flag. So that's where I am for the moment. I will be back later. Hopefully, I am finishing up on the petition. A lot of people are asking me. We will be ready for signing this week. I will be putting that petition up tonight before I go to bed. But I'm going to give it one more look over Make sure the verbiage is good and it's understandable. And I am at this point directing it to Kathy Engelhardt and Sue Block, who is supposedly the head of the referees. So that's who will be the online recipients. So once that petition goes up, they are notified that there's a petition. And we will see where we go from there. But I will be putting it in the video I do tomorrow, Tuesday afternoon, after I get home from work. We'll have the link to the petition in it. That's what I'm telling you. And it will be on a site. And I don't know how much you guys share, but you need to share it and let people know there's a petition in there relative to improving the performance of the referees in the WNBA. Okay. We need to get, I don't want to just get 500 signatures. That's not going to do it. I don't want 10,000 signatures. We need the WNBA fans now, and there are now more than ever, to come together and sign this petition. The referee should be employed by the WNBA, paid a decent salary by the WNBA, be informed of the rules of the WNBA, and then held to account of the WNBA, by the WNBA. No more of this upgrading, fouls to flagrants the day after they happen with absolutely no repercussion for the player. That changes nothing. So I want you guys to just be aware. I will be making a video about it, and I'm counting on you guys to share it. And please, there is so much junk on social media. So I just saw another headline today. Caitlin Clark leaves the WNBA. Folks, that's not happening any more than you're imploring her to sit out the whole season and teach them a lesson is going to happen. That doesn't teach them anything. And Caitlin Clark is not about to do that. Not with her team making a playoff run. I want to make one correction to something I said yesterday. I made a mistake. I said they were the number 3 seed. They are now the number 5 seed. But if they keep playing the way they're playing, when Caitlin Clark comes back, they could be higher than that. They could be at number 3. Caitlin Clark has the capability to come back, and if she's allowed to play, she can energize this team and take them into the finals. I firmly believe that. I will talk to you all later.